What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome to the MKO Pugilism Boxing channel where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like, subscribe, all that good stuff as you come in, and put the bell notification on all so you can get notified of all the latest content as and when it drops. Yeah, ladies and gents, it is fight week. It is upon us. This coming Saturday, 27th of July, we're going to have in the O2 Arena Dereck Chisora versus Joe the Juggernaut Joyce. And this fight is the very definition of a sort of crossroads fight, I would say, because you've got two guys here. You've got Dereck Chisora, who's 40 years old now, who in his last fight, beating Gerald Washington, who was pretty much washed up himself. And Chisora looked washed up in that fight. He looked, he won the fight, he gritted it out, and there's still something in there, but there's really and truly at any meaningful level of boxing, Dereck Chisora can't be competitive against top guys anymore. I think that's very, very clear. And even at those lower levels, he's got to be very careful. So Chisora now, he's a guy that looks to be well and truly shot and well and truly finished. Just going by his last performances, he's a guy that's always going to give it a go. He's always going to go out on his shield. He's a very tough man, but right now he just looks like even the punch resistance might be going and everything. And yeah, so he's at a point in his career where it's at the end. Even he himself has said he wants to get to 50 fights. So he probably, that means maybe another, I think 2 or 3 more fights will get him to 50. He's had 13 losses, but he's always been a war horse. He's had some remarkable performances in his career. I remember when watching him live take out Carlos Takam, but even that you're going back several years. So, even great performances like that, they're way, way, way into the rearview mirror. Lately, all his performances have looked quite poor. He's looked like he's a shell of himself, but he's just one of those guys that you can't stop from fighting. And I suppose theoretically, as long as they can pass a medical test, you can't stop him, even at 40 years old. And he comes up against Joe the Juggernaut Joyce, and Joyce looked very poor in his last performance too against Cash Ali. And Cash Ali's a heavyweight, he's been around for a long time, but he's never really done anything much in boxing. He's always been sort of a low level fighter, sort of very domestic, maybe area level or maybe below that sort of fighter. He's okay, but he's the type of guy that's not really at any serious level of boxing. He's right down there. He's quite a low level fighter, and fair enough to Joe Joyce. He was just a comeback opponent for Joyce after his previous 2 fights, which were 2 losses to Zhilei Zhang. And to be fair, that's no disgrace. Zhilei Zhang has turned out to be a very good pro, very good fighter. So losing to him is no disgrace on Joe Joyce. And Joyce has always been a fighter that's kind of fought with his face and just been willing to take a shot to give one, and that kind of worked for him. But Zhilei Zhang kind of exposed it and, landed some beautiful left hands and was just too much for Joe Joyce. And finally, that iron jaw that we all talk about, that whole thing cracked. And so it's very much a crossroads fight, this one, because you've got both guys coming off of pretty poor performances. The only advantage, I suppose, Chisora coming off of a win, but it's against a guy that's, he's been around world level. He's fought all sorts of fighters, Wilder, and got sparked by him and stuff. And yeah, he's quite used for Washington, but he's nothing really special to write home about. But yeah, both guys, I would say, as much as Joe Joyce don't have as much mileage on the clock, but because of his age, he's 38 now, and these are both at the tail end of their career. But I think as fights go, this will be one of those fights where it will be kind of like car crash TV. It's one of those where, yes, I've said all these factors about they're both at the tail end, they're both coming off of performances where they didn't look very good, but I think because of the way that they both fight. Dereck Chisora doesn't know how to take a backward step. He knows how to do one thing, and that's to go to war. And Joe the Juggernaut Joyce is pretty similar. I mean, he's got on his back a bit against Daniel Dubois, but for the most part, he is just like what it says in the tin, a juggernaut that just comes forward, willing to take shots, to land shots. And, you know, he's quite slow, he's quite cumbersome, but he punches hard, and he's got thudding punches and power. And I think of the two guys, Joe Joyce is the guy that's got a bit more left of the two. But Dereck Chisora, he's going to be game, and he's going to come forward, and he's going to have a go. I mean, as far as an outcome is concerned, for me, I think Joe Joyce is going to win this fight. I think Joe Joyce is probably going to beat Dereck Chisora by late stoppage. That's what I think is going to happen. But on his way to doing so, he's going to have to take a few licks. He's going to have to take a few shots. And, you know, as the Juggernaut doesn't really have any real defense, but I just think the fact that Chisora is like well past his best is going to really sort of lean into Joe Joyce's favor. And I think Joe Joyce is just going to edge this out and eventually stop Dereck Chisora somewhere around the 10th round. But one thing I will say is that as much as a lot of people will write this fight off, and even myself in some ways I kind of write off, because I think I'd like to see Chisora retire now. I think he's got a gun and he could just retire, go out on a win, but he's one of those guys that you can't tell anything, you know. So here we go, and I think it will be an entertaining fight. I think it will be an exciting fight while it lasts. But for me, Joe Joyce is going to be the winner, because he's the sort of younger man, and he's got that little bit more left in the tank, and that's my reasoning there. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below, and until next time, it's MKO Pugilism over and out.